For my final project presentation, I would like to discuss the relationship between well-being and mindfulness. We have spoken at length throughout this course of the various contributing factors to well-being and the different ways in which one can achieve it. From examining their thinking, their attachments, and even their genetics, there is so much a person can do to understand well-being. However, as someone with a great interest in practical, real-life ways individuals can improve their psychological well-being, I have found mindfulness to be an interesting and accessible approach and wanted to dive deeper into understanding its impact on the individual. Throughout this presentation, we will first define well-being and mindfulness to ensure understanding before discussing the key takeaways from this relationship and why they are important. From there, we will examine how the articles chosen in this presentation relate to the articles provided throughout the course and discuss how to verify an article is peer-reviewed and reliable to source. So, what is well-being? The Dacey and Ryan article provided to us in Module 1 did a great job explaining the two different traditions to well-being. The first tradition, hedonistic tradition, sees well-being as being centered on happiness and pleasure. This tradition associates positive affect with an absence of negative affect with overall happiness, satisfaction with life, and is often referred to as subjective well-being. In this view, you are simply happy, have minimal unpleasant experiences, and may not overly analyze meaning in your life and actions. Alternatively, in the eudaimonic tradition, the focus lies on living a full, deeply satisfying life that helps the individual meet their full potential. Joshan Liu states the core of wellness is not how pleasantly or unpleasantly one feels, but how one functions in response to life's changes. In the Dacey and Ryan article, it is said that if a person experiences eudaimonic living, they will inherently experience hedonic enjoyment. However, not all hedonic enjoyment is derived from eudaimonic living. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is defined as the ability to engage in non-elaborative, non-judgmental, present-centered awareness in which each thought, feeling, or sensation that arises in the attentional field is acknowledged. When one is mindful, this acknowledgement is where the interaction ends. You do not overanalyze, critique, or judge your thoughts, feelings, or sensations, but rather acknowledge them as temporary and behave as an observer. It is perceptual in its manifestation rather than cognitive or emotional, and can provide a greater sense of clarity and objectivity to the present moment. While mindfulness has become a bit of a buzzword, there are some easy mindfulness practices one can incorporate into their lives without much disruption. Some examples of these practices are practicing gratitude, performing body scans where you simply observe the sensation and perhaps relax into it rather than analyze, mindfulness meditation, mindful walks or art therapies, breathing exercises, journaling, mindful movement, visualization, and more. So, how is mindfulness connected to well-being? Mindfulness, whether viewed as a consistent trait or a momentary state, has been shown to lower stress levels, decrease anxiety, depression, and negative emotions, increase emotional regulation, decrease rumination, and increase empathy and self-compassion, all of which lead to higher levels of well-being. On top of these psychological benefits, Dacey and Ryan also share that psychological well-being is associated with improved neuroendocrine regulation, lower cardiovascular risk, and better immune functioning. So, the benefit of improved well-being from mindfulness is holistic in nature, positively impacting the whole person. The first key takeaway from this connection is that mindfulness can lead to higher levels of eudaimonic well-being. This is achieved first by a change in self-awareness, leading the individual to recognize their automatic habits and thinking, while also recognizing their patterns of reactivity. Once aware of these habits, change can begin. Secondly, the individual can begin to change their self-regulation, leading to increased self-transcendence, meaning they are able to connect with something larger than themselves and feel a sense of belonging. Social integration, environmental mastery, personal growth, positive relations with others, purpose in life, social contribution, and coherence. All of these are contributing factors to well-being that mindfulness can help one achieve. Our second key takeaway is that mindfulness can combat inhibitors of well-being, such as cognitive distortions, poor self-view, and ego. It was found that practicing mindfulness and possessing mindfulness as a consistent trait weakens the psychological distress associated with cognitive distortions. Interestingly, this distress was found to be related to being a critical thinker, leading one to critically think about their own cognition, sensations, and emotions in a way that further upsets them or leads them to believe that they are inherently true. If someone was a critical thinker and mindful, this distress was lessened. Mindfulness also leads to changed perspective, allowing the individual to reassess their poor self-view or automatic negative thoughts and find a new way to view them. Finally, mindfulness can quiet the ego and lead the individual to a more realistic outlook on the world and the self. Our third and final key takeaway from the connection between mindfulness and well-being is that mindfulness can improve quality of life, even when chronic physical or mental illness is present. There are many articles confirming the benefits of mindfulness in various mental health conditions like panic disorder, depression, OCD, and more. Further, mindfulness has been shown to improve outcomes in chronic pain and quality of life in those with chronic illness. Specifically, individuals who were able to find meaning in their life despite their chronic conditions had improved quality of life and psychosocial well-being. So, why is this important? Well, as stated in the beginning of this presentation, mindfulness practice is accessible. This means almost anyone can incorporate some form of mindful practice into their daily lives and increase their own well-being. This can be empowering for those who have felt stuck in their unhappiness and may not know where to begin to try to improve their well-being. Second, this relationship highlights that well-being is something you can actively work towards despite adversity like chronic physical or mental illness. Again, this is an empowering sentiment for someone who has been dealt a difficult hand. Finally, the various root causes of psychological distress, like cognitive distortions, ego, low self-worth, and negative self-view, are addressed by mindfulness, allowing the individual to begin building a strong foundation for well-being. The information provided in this presentation, pulled from the articles listed, all focused directly on mindfulness and its benefits on well-being. While the topic of these articles was specific to mindfulness, their definition of well-being aligned directly with the Dacey and Ryan article from Module 1. Further, the positive outcomes of well-being were consistent across all articles, with each author reporting decreased stress and overall life satisfaction resulting from higher levels of well-being. More specifically, the Ronald Su and Carmon Shum articles discussion on the relation between psychological distress and cognitive distortions mirrored the sentiment shared by Renick et al. That automatic thinking contributes to the lowering of well-being. It is important when conducting research to ensure the articles you are referencing are legitimate peer-reviewed sources. To do this, I examined the following criteria: the authors and their professional status and relevance, the journal in which the article was published, and the overall structure and layout of the article.